There were 5 humans in the kitchen, but it was very quiet, filled only with the sound of the rain. It was only accented by the sound of Shannon and Kumasawa washing the dishes. Goto was using the leftovers from breakfast and lunch as ingredients for a soup. Rosa had suspected that poison might have been added to the food, so they decided to eat canned goods, but it hadn't been too satisfying. But Goto thought she was being too cautious, so he was spontaneously creating a soup to be served only to those who wanted some. Shannon and Kumasawa were washing the dishes that the food had been arranged on. On the inside, they thought maybe Goto should wash them, since he'd been the one who wanted the food arranged on plates in the first place, but they left their complaints unsaid for the time being. Genji and Nanja were facing each other across a crude chess set that had many years of experience. The game had still only just begun, and because the opening game of these experienced players had been honed to perfection, it looked like a ceremony where they just moved specified pieces in a specified order.
良い匂いですね。やはり缶詰ではこうはいきませんね。
開封した食材だけで作りましたので、毒が混入しているなんてことはありませんよ。
God damn it. There's some sound effects in the goddamn background that's making me think it was actually coming from my house. Goddamn. I hate it when games do that. I hear like a noise, I'm like, shit, where's that coming from?
皆さんの分もお作りしていますので、ぜひ食べましょう。もちろん、私もお毒にしますよ。安心して召し上がってください。
本当にいい匂いですね。合田さんのまかない料理は本当に美味しいです。
美味しい材料を買ってきて、美味しい料理が作れるのは当たり前です。私は師匠に、あり合わせのもので美味しく作るまかない料理を極めてこそ、真の料理人だと習いました。
それはいい師匠でしたな。おかげで私はとても美味しいスープをごちそうになれそうです。
親族の皆様にお召し上がりいただくための材料で作ることになってしまったのが残念だ。
ローザさんも朝からのいろいろでお疲れなのでしょう。無理もないことです。
でもそのおかげで美味しい食材のスープが飲めるのですからね。
Rose had fervently warned everyone that they didn't understand the danger they were in, and that they must assume that poison was mixed in with the food. The mood at the time had led them to agree, but hunger wasn't something that could be swayed by a momentary emotion like that.
皮肉にも、普段の私たちではとても味わえないスープとなりました。できるなら、客間の皆さんにもぜひ振る舞いたいところなのですが。
ローザ様のご指示に背いている以上、よした方がいいだろう。飲みたいものだけ飲むという。
Probably make mine up, I guess. Yeah, that's probably
something. 見えないところで上手に息抜きするのも使用人の心得でございますものね。
When Kumasawa cackled, Shannon and Goto laughed too. It seemed that, in this space, where only their fellow servants were gathered, they could relax quite a bit. Shannon didn't like Goto's occasional dishonesty, but she knew that there was no falsehood in his childish smile when he cooked, nor in his desire for people to enjoy his food. So even though it was a little aggravating to be made to wash the dishes, she couldn't really hate him. However, they couldn't have dreamed that Rosa was calling them wolves in the parlor at exactly the same moment they were spending their time peacefully like this. At that time, several of the servants heard a sound like something being dragged, and then a thump. Oh god. It seemed like the sound made by a servant outside the back door when they were carrying a mountain of trash bags on a rainy day. Or maybe when a servant was returning from work wearing a raincoat. So at first the sound didn't seem like anything out of the ordinary to any of them. But they soon realized. Right now everyone was either in the kitchen or in the parlor. So who could possibly be at the back door? As the servants all looked at each other, they checked to make sure that each one of them knew what that sound meant.
誰でございます？
The servants knew the mansion's layout well, so they understood how incomprehensible it would be for someone from the parlor to actually go outside in this typhoon. Go all the way around and come up to this back door. Then was it Kinzo? They couldn't imagine that Kinzo, who never left his study, would dash out into the middle of this typhoon and come back to the house, and come to the back of the house, where only lower class people ever entered or exited.
気のせいじゃないですよね。
Shannon and Kumasawa drew closer together, fearfully looking at the back door.
どちら様ですか？
As Goto fearfully approached the back door, he called out, and his eyes flashed towards the butcher's knife that sat in a nearby sink. He didn't pick it up yet, because there was still a possibility that this was a member of the family. However, that possibility was impossible. There was no response from across the door to Goto's initial question. Maybe his voice had been so quiet that it hadn't reached through all the wind and rained outside.
源氏さん、
南條先生と女たちは下がってる。
一体どなたなんですかな？
Genji took a knife with the classical design from the stationery box placed near the chess set. It was something to be used instead of a paper knife to open envelopes for statements of delivery and bills. But it was still a knife, so the blade on it could injure someone. Genji hid in his sleeve with a well-practiced motion. Then he approached the back door himself, giving Goto a silent nod. Goto cautiously approached the back door and slowly started to open it. The shadow of a person suddenly shuffled into sight, landed on its knees and fell over. Goto fell backwards onto his backside and couldn't get up. That human shadow was soaked with rain, smeared with mud, and drenched with blood.
カノン、大丈夫か？南條先生。
It was Kanon. His breath was feeble, and the puddles of mud he left were quickly drenched bright red. When Nanjo held him and turned him face up, there was a deep, gruesome wound right in the center of his chest, as though he'd been stabbed there by a spear or something. Even now, deep red blood poured from out of there.
これはひどいの。どうしましょう。救急箱ですか？
Yeah, nah, first
救
aid
急
kit,
箱
I'll...
ですか？
Ah, yeah, I'll take care of it.
カノンさん、傷口に手を当ててしっかり押さえてください。使用人室のベッドに運びましょう。皆さん、手を貸してください。
さあ、カノンさん。
And this is only going to lead Rosa to cast more suspicion on the servants, though. Because, like, oh, Kanon's cleared now that we have a corpse. But then, who could have possibly fucking stabbed him in the chest? Well, it's the servants who found them. Had to have been one of them, right?
しばらく我慢してください。
Though I am very curious. I mean, obviously Beatrice did something, but it's like she just rematerialized him or something for him to fucking crawl back in and flop dead in front of him.
もう大丈夫よ。だから傷口から手を離さないで。
とにかく使用人室へ運ぼう。熊沢ローザ様にカノンが見つかったことの報告を。
待って、ローザ様にはダメ。
待ってください、カノンさんがローザ様にはダメだと。
どういう意味なの、カノン君。
今はいい。早く使用人室へ運ぼう。熊沢、ローザ様にはまだお伝えする。カノンに事情を聞いてからにする。
Oh, Shut up, Kumasa. He had told them not to tell Rosa, right after appearing in this state. This could only mean something very disquieting. An eerie anxiety rose to their faces.
さあ皆さん、急いで運びましょう。早く早く。
Kanon's wound was unbelievably deep, and judging from Nanjo's pale face, it was a miracle that he was still conscious.
これは何か槍のようなもので刺され肺まで届いてなければ、とにかく止血を。
No matter how much Nanjo tried to wipe off that gushing deep red blood, he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. He couldn't wipe it all away. And each time the wound was aggravated, causing Kanon to cry in anguish.
カノン君、カノン君、カノン君、しっかりして、しっかりして。
南條先生、替えのタオルです。なんてむごい。
容体はどうですか？
本音を言うと、生きているのが信じられん深手だ。
I'm quite surprised
刺
myself.
されどころが幸運だったのかもしれん。だが出血がひどすぎる。輸血が必要だが、明日まで無理だ。
What's your dying words, Kanon?
ローザ様が僕たちを
喋らないで、カノン君。傷口が開いちゃう。
ローザ様がやってきてお嬢様と僕は
なんですって。
ローザ様がそんなことって
間違いないのか？
はい間違いなくローザ様でし
さあ、もう喋らないで。
I feel like this is like a plant set by Beatrice. Because Beatrice wants to prove that she's a witch. Well, obviously, her making Kanon come back would kind of be like that.
熊沢さん、もう一つの救急箱を取ってください。
源氏さん、ローザ様がなんてことはあり得るのでしょ
I'm
うか。
trying. I don't know what to believe, is the problem. Like we saw the epic fight between Kanon and one of Beatrice's servants, and then the fucking, what do they call it, stake? One of the fucking 7 stakes fucking slammed into what's her face, Jessica, and then slammed into Kanon. But it's like, is that real? Is that what actually happened? Or is this what happened? Which one is the real thing? I'm more inclined to lean towards the whole thing with Beatrice and whatnot. I know, like, as in the role of the protagonist, Battler obviously won't believe in witches or anything. Because, like, they're mentioning how the hell is Kanon alive with that wound in his chest. Because the same exact thing happened to him in the first episode, and he died very quickly shortly after they, like, minutes after the initial stabbing. This is hours later. Like, hours later after the initial stabbing, he was fucking dispersed into butterflies, apparently rematerialized and made to fall into the servants' room. But instead of saying Beatrice, he said Rosa. Why would he say Rosa? Unless somehow Beatrice is manipulating it, or I don't know. I'm not gonna lie, this has thrown me for a huge loop. I don't know what to believe in this at this current point in time. Was it Rosa? Was it Beatrice? Was it witch? Was it human? I don't know. That was a massive plot twist I was not ready for, alright? I was not ready for him to say, Rosa did this to me.
わからん。
Disregarding Nanjo and Kumasawa, who were struggling hard and stained with blood as they tried to stop the bleeding, Genji and Goto faced each other. Because if what Kanon said was the truth, Rosa was the culprit who killed Jessica.
ローザめ、よくもお嬢様を殺してやる。
Kanon screamed even more hatefully. His hate-filled voice made it seem like he was seeing Jessica being harmed right before his eyes.
確かにローザ様がお嬢様を殺す理由はあるかもしれない。
What do you know, Goda? Fill me in.
後ろ宮家が全滅すれば遺産は全てローザ様のもの。だとしたらバトラー様やジョージ様も危険なのでは。ローザ様は銃を持っている上に今客間には彼らしかいない。源氏さん、これはかなりまずいことでは。
Yeah, of course Shannon's not going to sit back and let it happen, because George is in there. Yep. Shannon suddenly ran out into the corridor. Her expression was complex and tragic, as though she didn't know what to believe. Shannon ran. To where? The inside of the mansion had been scrupulously clean, so it probably wouldn't be easy to find. She might find if she searched the rose garden, but they'd probably all been lost in this wind and rain. That's right. The boiler room isn't cleaned very often. If she went there, she might be able to find it. Shannon ran downstairs to find that in the underground boiler room. What is she looking for? Did some medicine take effect at the brink of death? Or was Kanon finally beyond feeling pain? For the time being, at least, Kanon's painful gasping had subsided. Nanjo apparently didn't view this as a very good sign, and he didn't let his eyes off of Kanon for a second. Kumasawa firmly gripped Kanon's hand and kept encouraging him, so that the willpower keeping him alive didn't fade away. Well, that's the thing. If Kanon dies, all they have is that, they have a dead man's confession that something happened that obviously no one else heard themselves. So if the servants that, the actual family members already are suspecting come in saying, no, it was Rosa who did it, they're obviously going to be accused of just trying to shift the blame with no actual proof. Genji and Goda seemed uncertain on how to respond to the truth Kanon had risked his life to deliver.
ローザ様の銃は確か4発か5発の弾が込められたはずだ。
決して少ない数ではないですね。
Sure isn't. It's almost like, the witch herself only needs, 5 more. And if Rosa has 5 more, well.
でも、あの銃は弾の装填に結構な慣れが必要だったはず。一発目は撃たせてしまうかもしれませんが、みんなで襲いかかれば次を撃たせずに銃を奪い取れるかも。
この島には医者はいても薬はなく、病院撃たれどころが悪ければ死ぬぞ。
それは分かっていますが、それより早く行動を起こさないとまた次の事件が起こる可能性も。
I'm curious, does Kanon have like a death tag? He does. There's no corpse, and yet he's dead. The witch said so in red. So he definitely is dead, even though there's no corpse. So he's definitely dead. That's right. The witch said in red, he is dead. He is absolutely dead. So that Kanon is not the real Kanon. Found her own room in the mansion with a weapon shaped like a stake rammed in her bag. Finally, at the very end, she got to be with the person she loved. She must have been happy. Aww. Where are you at? Huh? Where are you? Where are you in all this mess? Off being a witchy woman and whatnot. God damn it. So, the witch did say, in no uncertain terms, Kanon is dead. He is dead. So that can't be Kanon on that couch. Which means he's probably spreading lies, kind of like, probably to sow like, discord and tear him apart. We're not similar to like how that one envelope appeared while everyone was in Kinzo's study in the last episode, to like, separate them even further. Because already they're separated into the family and the servants, which was the same split as last time, the family and the servants. Well, with the exception of Maria in the last one, but the family and the servants. But now they're gonna throw in this, accusation from this false canon. And then I'm sure at least George will probably side with that. I'm sure George will side with that. And then, the servant, I don't know how many of the servants will actually believe it. And I'm sure the servants will believe it. I don't know why they have no reason not to. They're of course going to trust Canon, who just showed up out of nowhere. So I'm sure George will join their side. I'm curious to see how this plays out. I really am. Because honestly, I don't even know where to go with my own theory about what's going to happen.
私たちはローザ様にうまく追い出された気がします。今頃ジョージ様やバトロ様が殺されている可能性も。
Nah, not Battler. That's the protagonist. Though I mean, doesn't mean it's impossible. He did get consumed by fucking demons the last time.
そんな危険な相手なら無理に刺激しない方がい
And
い
just
んじゃあ
let
りま
them
せんか。
murder?
しかし明日までは長い。どんな手を打ってくるか想像もつきませんよ。源氏さん、こちらから仕掛けるべきだ。せめて10歳理由をこじつけて奪えばなんとかなるかも。
弾は4、5発じゃありませんか。ということは私たち全員を殺すには足りうかつに刺激しなければきっとローザ様もむやみには。
あいつは言ったよ。僕たちを皆殺しにすると言った。
Canon, who they thought was sleeping quietly, suddenly started talking brightly. Almost as though he'd been awake this whole time and had suddenly opened his mouth. Canon looked firm and steady, which relieved Nanjo a bit, but considering the depth of that wound, he couldn't wipe away a certain creepy feeling. Yeah, that's not Canon. He knew because he was a doctor. After losing so much blood, Canon might easily have lost consciousness. And yet somehow he was still intensely aware of his surroundings. Was it youth? Or was it tenacity? Sometimes the power of human life surpassed common knowledge. While stopping the bleeding, Nanjo had groped around a bit inside the bleeding hole with tweezers, making sure there were no foreign objects inside the affected area. And the great depth of the wound had shocked him. It had certainly reached as far as his lungs. And yet... No. But the fact that he's still alive is wonderful. But Kano had spoken clearly. He'd hatefully stated that the one named Rosa made this wound, cursing and raging over and over and over.
あいつは親方様の財産を独り占めするために台風が過ぎ去るまでにどんな手を使ってでも皆殺しにする気なんだ。
Hold up. That's not his normal eye color, is it? Have his eyes always been red? I don't think they have. Hold the phone. I'll be right back. I'm gonna save. Alright, Alright. Boom, we're saved. System, you take me back to the title. Why did I do that? I could have just Googled it. I'm a fucking moron. Whatever. I did it anyway. Tips. From episode 1. This should show me characters. Canon. Yeah, he's got them deep blues. And he got no red eyes. Wasn't that so worth it? I'm a fucking idiot. I could have easily just Googled that shit.
あいつは親方様の財産を独り占めするために台風が過ぎ去るまでにどんな手を使ってでも皆殺しにする気なんだ。
くそ、なんて人だ。源氏さん、どうしましょう。私たちにも何か武器がいるのでは。
にわかには信じられん。
Yeah. Smart Genji.
ローザ様がそのようなことを。
源氏様、信じる信じないじゃない。あいつが僕にこの僕が聞いたんです。どうして信じてくれないんですか。
Yeah, he keeps making this noise every time his eyes open.
起きないで傷に触ります。
Kanon sat up on the bed speaking to Genji, who didn't seem to be willing to believe Kanon's story. Yeah. Stay strong, Genji. Genji sees
あ
through
い
it.
つは僕たちを必ず全員殺す。
I mean, she'll definitely kill the servants. I believe that.
もうきっと客間の方々も殺され、僕らが先に殺さなければ必ず僕らが先に僕が先に殺されたようにみんなも先に殺される。殺さなきゃ殺される。殺さなきゃ殺される。
カノンさん、あんた本当に痛くないのか？
ああ、これですか。大した傷じゃありません。
大した傷じゃないどころか、
Yeah, maybe.
あんたは
Come on, Nanjo, put the
本
pieces
当
together.
に大したことありません。こんなのもう全然痛くないし、本当に大した傷じゃない。
As Kanon said that, he began to untie the bandages that had been painstakingly wrapped. A gruesome hole in his chest was immediately exposed.
カノンさん、そんなことをしてはダメですよ。
Shannon's gonna come in clutch. I know Shannon's gonna. She somehow knows that's not the real Kanon.
早く横になって。
大丈夫ですって。ほらね、大した傷じゃないでしょ。
Kanon showed off his gaping wound, which was still slowly spitting out foamy blood. Everyone averted their eyes reflexively.
ほら、全然大した傷
God,
じゃ
that's
ない
fucking
ですって。
weird.
やめなさい。
Oh, play with
傷
it.
をいじってはいけません。
ほら、見て。全然深い傷じゃないんですよ。
Oh,
ほら。
quit with the noises. Kind of held up two fingers, showed them to everyone, slowly started to stick them into the gruesome wound right in the center of his chest. Plunging, slimy, squishy, wet. The fingers went in deep, all the way to their bases. That's actually a really funny quote out of context. Squish, gloop, bloop. Oh, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. Oh, I fucking hate this. Yeah, I feel you, Kumasawa. Oh.
カノンさん、
Yeah.
やめて、やめて。
Yeah, Yamete. Yeah, preach, sister. Oh. Those fingers were sticking all the way into his chest, up to their bases. And then he slowly pulled them out in exactly the same way. The fingers he pulled out were stained a sticky, solid, deep red color, and there was even a thread hanging. The fingers were covered up to their bases in deep red.
あんた。痛い。
ね、
Stop it!
全
Stop it!
然大した傷。
Which cackle? At that moment, the door slammed open and Shannon appeared. Even after she saw Kanon stained with fresh blood, her impregnable expression didn't falter. Yeah, come in clutch,
な
girl.
あ姉さん、どこへ行っていたの？僕が既得だというのに。一体。
ボイラー室に行ってきた。探し物があって、それより確かめたいの。あなたは本当にカノン君。
It was only natural. Everyone believed he was Kanon, so they couldn't understand the meaning of Shannon's question. When they looked up, they noticed that Shannon was holding a handkerchief in her hand. It was filthy and looked like it had been used to wipe up some trash or dust. While holding that, she approached Kanon, drawing closer to his feet.
なんだい、それは。
クモの巣を拭き取ったハンカチよ。
なんでそんなものを。
カノン君なら平気だろうけど、もしあなたにとってクモが天敵だったなら。
やだな。僕がどうして雲を嫌うの？
ごめん、試すね。
シャノンさん。
When Shannon brought that handkerchief close to Kanon's thigh, something happened in an instant. Happened all at once. The human eye couldn't have followed it. Kanon jumped like a wild goat, fleeing from that thing Shannon was holding. Then from his arms, some kind of afterglow flashed purple and drew a curve through space. Don't tell me it killed Shannon. That arc, which drew three beautiful purple curves, traced across the throats of Nanjo and Kumasawa, had been tending to him. In an instant, Nanjo's and Kumasawa's throats opened like gaping mouths, and the blood really started spewing out. The third purple curve should have traced across Shannon's throat. Shannon wasn't there. Because Genji, who had been behind her... Aww. Wait, did he save her? And without killing himself? Because Genji, who had been behind her, had wrapped his own arm around Shannon's neck and pulled her back. This all happened in an instant. In the instant it took Goto to think fast and attempt to understand the scene, the frozen moment in time shattered. Blood was gushing from Nanjo and Kumasawa's torn open necks. Kanon jumped and kicked off a picture frame that had been hanging from the wall behind him, springing forward just like a cat, aiming for Shannon's throat again. Kanon's target once again disappeared from in front of him, because Genji had pulled Shannon again. The two of them had fallen to the ground in a defensive crouch.
いい反射神経だ。この老いぼれ家具が。
ゴダ
Even Goto was no fool. Even if he couldn't fully understand what was going on, he at least realized that this Kanon wasn't seized. His own life would also be in peril. He sprung at Kanon with his huge body, pushing him up against the wall with all his weight and physical strength. Now the purple curve was drawn from the tips of the fingers on Kanon's right hand. And when he raised that hand like a sword aimed for Goto's back, there was a loud thunk. Because Kanon's raised hand had been pinned to the wall. He couldn't tear his palm away from the wall. Sticking out from it was the knife Genji had thrown. Under normal circumstances, it would have been surprising to see someone as old as Genji handle a knife so skillfully. But in this abnormal space, no one paid it much mind.
源氏様、これを。
Genji took the handkerchief with the spiderweb stuck to it from Shannon. And he approached Kanon, who was pinned to the wall by Goto's massive body and the knife.
やめろ。それは近づけるな。やめろ。
But still, there's two dead. And Rose is gonna want answers. When Genji pushed the handkerchief up against Kanon's face, there was a sound just like setting meat on a red-hot iron plate. Of course, the smell was the same too. As he was horribly burned, festering in filthy red and black, and crying out in his death throes, Kanon's body burst open and scattered. Ugh. It was almost as though a balloon filled with gold leaf had popped. The entire servant room was completely buried under a storm of gold leaf. No, a cloud of gold butterflies. Those butterflies began to softly fade as though into water, or rather, into the empty air itself. Afterwards, all that was left was the three survivors sitting on their butts, stained with blood. However, not everyone was merely stained with blood. Some of them were lying on the ground, spurting out blood themselves.
Kumasawa, Nanjo sensei.
Slits so sharp they looked like they'd cut your fingers if you touched them open wide. Large amounts of blood kept pouring out.
何だったんだ。いや、今のは。
ゴダ、怪我はないか。
私は大丈夫。しかし、私たちは何があったんです。私はあれを確かにこの手で、その私が何があったのか理解できない。
Goto looked at his own hand. The bright red blood left from his scuffle with Kanon definitely remained, and yet Kanon was nowhere to be seen, because he had disappeared. He had transformed into gold butterflies and scattered. Goto kept screaming alone, without a clue about what was going on. Shannon sobbed in front of Nanjo and Kumasawa's remains, as Genji watched over, silent as always. Damn. Well, fuck.